Hello! Welcome to this webinar on Microsoft Word and academic writing. This particular webinar, we will look at how to create lists of tables and figures. In the Faculty of Society and Economics, we have four very common referencing styles: Harvard, APA, ASA, and Oxford. So I will be showing you how to label and cite your tables and figures. At the same time, how to ask Microsoft Word to create a list for you so that you don't have to copy and paste or rewrite, retype these tables and figures from your thesis paper into the list. It's very easy. If you're unsure how should a table be labeled, in our manual you can see under tables there's a quick description and a visual explanation including samples of how to refer and cite the table. That will be in page 7, and in page 8, figures. Again, a quick description and visual sample with also examples in the in-text and the reference. Now, right here I said I've written here for detailed example for your particular reference list, especially APA. APA has also its special way to label tables and source tables and figures. If you want to follow, if you're using the APA referencing style and you like to follow that, it is very detailed and very particular. Then please download the quick guide for APA in the Moodle, and then there are examples as well. If you think it's too complicated, you can follow the one that is, written in our manual. All right. Now, if you would like to follow this webinar with a practice file, please go down to Workshop and Webinar Microsoft Word and Academic Writing, and there you will find a folder with all the practice files. Okay, and the practice file looks like this. I've created a file for you to work with. There are 2 empty pages at the moment, and then there are some other pages with things in it and tables and figures. I've prepared 3 tables and 3 figures. All right, let me make this one much bigger so you can see it clearer. So if you have watched the previous webinar on how to make table of content and reference list, then you know that this particular top tab, the reference tab in English, and since I have a German language Microsoft Word, it's called Verweise. And if you remember, that is where you make your table of content. Here's where you do your footnote. Here's where you add your sources to make in-text citation and reference list. And the 4th section here is where you ask Microsoft Word to create your list. But before you create them, you have to then, highlight where you want to, highlight so that it can be placed into that list. So the first one is this table under Academic Writing Manual and Harvard Style. So if you do look at the manual right here, you should have a table number with caption before the table. So let's do that. To do that, make sure your cursor is right there before, and then you click on this button The German word is called Beschriftung einfügen. A window will pop up. As you can see, a number is already there. You cannot delete this number because it's automatically placed there by the software. So even if I put you see, I'm going to press my backward key now. It will not allow me to delete. But if I like to have a 1.1 or 1.2, that's okay. But you're not allowed to delete that first number. Now, since this is a table, so you can bring this pull down menu and choose table. And then after you are pleased with the title, the table number, then you type in the caption. Now, I don't know what Microsoft versions you have. It looks like different versions will create different results. So mine will always come up in blue. Of course, I may not like them in blue. The nice thing about this, then you can then change the font size, the color of the font, and the type of the font as well. So there you have it. You have just created the first table on your list of tables. And the same with figures. So you make sure your cursor is there. Go back to the reference tab at the top. Click on this button here. Now, since this is not a table, then choose figure. You can see now it's figure 1. But if I choose table, it will be table 2 because I've already had a table 1. It's nice in some way because then you don't have to get confused with, imagine you have lots of tables and say, is this table 1 or is it table 2 or is it table 12? Yeah, it's already being recorded with the software. So once I'm pleased with this, then I will type in the title. No, sorry, it should be after the full stop. Right, so there it is. Okay, now if you have made a wrong typo, all you do is either you do a spell check and it corrects on its own then, or you can change it after that. And then naturally, I would reformat my title with different font and size, and I'm done. So that's how you do it with, it's not very difficult, it's very easy, but we're going to go on to the next 4 tables and figures so I can have at least a nice list instead of just one. Plus, now I'm going to look at the table style in the APA. As you can see already, APA has something that's very different that Harvard and the manual doesn't have. And to read more about it, just download the quick guide. And in the table of content, just click tables. And because APA is so particular, they have lots of information on how to create and label and source your tables and figures. And the tables and figures are very differently sourced and very differently labeled. If you want even more detail, you can borrow this book from our library. I think there are many of them in the Kamp-Lintfort library, so you can borrow it via the Clever library. Otherwise, I think the description that I've given here is very useful, and it's enough for you to do very basic tables and figures. So looking at this one, you can see the tables and the title is on a different line. Okay, and I will not explain everything here because this webinar is only about how to create the list of tables. So it's a different line. And then the second one, in this second line, they are all in italics. So let's go back to our practice file. So now I can create a table. Go to the reference tab. I need to move this up a little bit because my title is right here. Okay, so this is the table. Choose table. Type in the caption and it's okay. Then you can change it. All right, now this is one thing you will have to do extra compared to if you are doing the manual style and the Harvard style. You cannot bring this title down to the next line. If you do this, then when you create the list, your list of table will only have table 2 and the title will disappear, will not be there. It's only applicable and programmable when everything is in one line. So what I've discovered I would do is I would copy the title and paste it in the next line, because if I'm following the APA style, yeah, then it should be like that. And I would create this in italics. But of course, you are not allowed to do this. You know, visually it looks very odd. So you have to still, but because you have to have this one in the same line with the table number, what I've discovered is even when you make these words in white font, they are visually not there, but physically it's there. So when you create the list of tables, the title will appear. I've tried it many times. Like I've tried deleting them and putting it here and then make the list, and it will not happen. Another way would be you type the title on the list, but then it defeats the purpose of making the list. You want the list to be there so that you don't have to redo it, retype it, copy and paste it. Okay, so once you've done this, then you'll be okay. Then it looks exactly as the APA style. As for the figure, you can go back to the guide, quick guide, under figure, and you can see very quickly, it's very obvious, it's very different from the manual and the Harvard style. They do not want, APA doesn't want any caption before the figure. Everything has to be here. The figure number, they all have to be in italics, and then the caption and the reference after that. It's all below the figure. Again, if you were to make the figure in the same line, what will happen? I'm going to show you. So imagine I'm going to make the figure here. Okay. And I'm going to type in figure social media impact. What happened would be the software would highlight everything else that you've typed as the title. Okay, and then they will all come out in your list. You can try any other ways to see if it works, if you have time to experiment. If not, this is what you can do. You make a new line before your figure, figure 2. okay. And because you're going to make it invisible, all you need to do, it doesn't really matter what size, but the font type is important. You then make it invisible. So it's invisible and you can't see it. Yeah, you can't see it. You can even put your figure in front. And then now all you need to do is just change the rest that are visible and you'll be okay. So you don't have to worry that this is part italicized and this is not, because in the invisible figure that you've programmed, it's all nicely done. You just make it invisible and then you'll be fine. Here I've stated tables and figures for ASA. So for those who are doing ASA, in this ASA style guide, they do not have a lot of description. There's a list of things that you should have in your tables and figures. And I've placed it in the quick guide in the ASA reference style, but they don't have a lot of description. And somewhere online where I have researched, it says people who are using the ASA style, and if you're not sure and you want to be particular, you can follow the APA style way of labeling. But I thought since we also have the manual the Harvard style or the academic manual suggested style. So I believe for our student in our faculty, you can then use either APA style or Harvard style. You know, unless your professor is very particular and your supervisor said, no, I want this and this style, then please follow what they have advised. So the next would be the Oxford referencing style. Now because Oxford style, the one that we are using is a footnote referencing, so you might want to do something different. So in the quick guide, under tables, I have also given put in a visual explanation of how you should label and source your work. So it's just a different step, but to add them it's the same. You go to the reference tab, open this up, and because this is the table, choose table and then type in the caption. Okay, once you are happy, just do a little bit of reformatting. And then you source it the way you source, like you're doing Oxford style, by putting a footnote. Yeah, so you source it in the footer, like that. Oh, sorry. Here. In the footer. And same goes here with figures. Figure 3. Now, I don't know why I went and picked titles that are so long. It could be shorter, but I've already done this, never mind. I think I'm pretty happy with this, so have a look. Yes. No spelling errors. Reformat a little bit. And then source it like Oxford style. So create a footer. and source it. Of course, I want to make sure everything's okay. Looks good. So when you're done, then you're ready to make your list. Now make sure whatever you have put in, all the tables and figures, you make sure that they are also in your reference list according to that style. Okay, and I've done that as well. So once you're done, you are formatting and creating your two lists of tables and figures. All you now need to do is choose a different button, still under the reference tab, but instead of this button, choose this button, and you realize the pop-up window looks very different. As a nice preview, and you can see this one is a list without page number, and this one without the lines. And if you like the lines, you can also have 3 different style of lines. I will pick the default one. And this is a list of table, and when I'm done, the magic comes. Ta-da! Look at it. Everything's nicely done. Again, if you have a spelling mistake or some mistake, or you can always edit it. I will change that to line spacing 1.5, and I'll do the same with the list of figures. So very quickly, I repeat, I like the classic style, but if I don't want the classic style, I want the dash style, then I make sure everything's correct. And you can see it's dash style. I just change the line spacing into this, and that's it. So there you have it. You have just created a list of tables and a list of figures with a click. Yeah, one click, and then it's done. Everything's done. You don't have to do double work. You save a lot of time, and this time that you save, you can take a break or proofread or spend more time editing your work. All right, so this is the end of the webinar. I hope it is helpful for you. If I'm too fast, don't worry, it is a webinar, so you can pause the video, rewind it, and play it again. If you have any questions, you're most welcome to email me. If not, come to the workshops. I have these workshops once or twice per semester. Okay, have a nice day. I think I paused the video too early. So have a nice day. Bye bye.